You are listening to Dumpster Diving with
Janice.
and Jane. And it's Sunday afternoon, and we're hanging out, and we are going to spend a little time with you guys today. How are you doing today, Janice?
I'm great, and I'm actually so excited that we got our second episode. Like we had hoped to be able to gather some info for the second episode for Women's Month, and I'm so glad that we did. But before we get into that, I'm going to disappoint our listeners right now, and that's just the way it's going to be because I'm drinking water. Now, let me be clear.
Oh,
I am drinking water because I drank my fair share of wine last night. We went to our favorite there's a little winery here in Poway, near where we live, and it's called Mission Cellars
mm,
for anybody who's a local. The guys who work there are really great. There's lots of regulars. All you do, you kind of go in and find yourself a seat, and then there are restaurants nearby, and you can always go grab like carry out. So, my 22-year-old daughter and her boyfriend, and our 15-year-old, and Joe and I just went and hung out. So I kind of thought, I don't get me wrong, I have the rest of that wine to drink later today, but I felt like I needed to hydrate first. So that's what I'm drinking. What are you enjoying on your end, Miss Jane?
well, as you know, I'm not a big drinker, though I did stop by, had a little coaching session at the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf with one of my clients. And I am drinking
Crazy.
their, yes, and I am drinking their peach jasmine cold brew tea, and it is delightful. It is
You
just
crazy
bitter
girl.
and just sweet enough to make my taste buds dance and be happy. But the cannabis choice of the day
Yes.
is because that's a must,
Yes.
especially on a Sunday and we're recording and just kind of doing our thing. Again, the sativa, it is during the day,
Love
and
it.
it is a little bit of gelato strawberry cough, and it
Which
is lovely.
you've taught me doesn't mean jack squat because you don't actually taste the flavors.
Nope, you don't
Um,
really taste the flavors.
and you also taught me the difference. Like now I know that's kind of like the daytime, pick up
Yeah,
energy, help with focus,
yep,
all the things, which by the way, wine does not do for me, which is another reason for me not to drink it at 12:25 p.m. because it'll make me sleepy and I'll want to like low key it. And we need energy for this conversation, girl. Like we just
yes.
need energy.
We
So
need energy because we are talking about women, and we are
yes,
talking about the messages that we receive through the world, our
yes,
families, our friends, and social media, technology, all of those things, the media, just
yes,
media in general. And man,
so powerful.
it's a powerful, crazy layered landfill of emotions and decisions and reactions and responses and all of those things rolled into one,
That's it.
and we have to sift through it. And how do we even start, right?
So we're
Like,
gonna we're gonna talk about that. But before we do, for
yeah,
those of you who listened to last week's episode, we toyed with adding some music to the start of the episode because we're constantly
yeah,
refreshing our thinking around this podcast. And Jane had a kick-ass song, but the sound was not great because we suck at the technical side of this. And so here's until
we're
we stop
working on it.
sucking, we both kind of have a song in our head for the conversation today. So Jane started a Spotify playlist for the podcast. So we're
Yes,
not going to play the song because the sound will be terrible. I'm
yeah,
going to tell you all that for some reason, my 15-year-old and I have been really jamming a lot to Taylor Swift this weekend. So I have Taylor Swift's Don't Blame Me in my head for
love it.
this conversation. What do you have, Jane?
Well, I have a lot of things rolling around in my head this weekend. I've been really enjoying listening to Tupac with my 12-year-old daughter Jenny. That is
Nice.
her jam right now. And on the way in, I was listening to Temptations by Tupac,
I love
which is a super fun song and one of my faves. So that's what I was listening to. So we're going to add those two songs to our playlist. And
it.
every time
Now,
we record, we'll have two new songs. And,
yeah,
if you guys have any suggestions, let us know. We
let
love,
us know.
I don't know about Tupac Temptations being an empowering song for women, but it's a badass song. So let's just put
There
it
you
on.
go.
So
I
that's
like
what
it.
we're going to do.
I like it. And all these artists can pay us royalties for mentioning their music later.
Yeah.
But I will say that I'm thinking now, flash forward. So next, not this coming weekend, but the following week is Easter. You and your fam are going to be here with us. And
Yes.
so we're going to be, for the first time, I think our 15-year-old and my 22-year-old, our 22-year-old they get to meet your 12 and 17-year-olds. So I'm
And
thinking
their Aunt
Taylor
Laura,
and Tupac,
or
Taylor and
I'm
Tupac.
sorry.
We're going to merge Taylor and Tupac.
Yeah.
I love it.
I
I love
love
it.
it. Taylor Swift and Tupac. They're
It's
going
going
to
to be great.
meet Aunt Jane for the first time
I
ever. Crazy
know.
Aunt Jane.
I know. They already call you that. I'm not sure why. They just
Really?
call her name. No, but I just thought it would be funny to say. So
You're
yeah,
such a
no.
freaking liar. Like, God. I got so excited for a second. You just crushed my dreams, you jerk.
No. Yeah, not even a little.
Jesus.
Not even a little. All right. So women, here's the deal. So for those of you who listened to our last episode, and if those of you who didn't, you need to press pause and go do it right now. But
Yes.
we said, listen, we had a conversation about the powerful women in our lives and how they impacted us. But we also wanted to get a little bit of perspective from women who are younger because I'm really old, Jane's kind of old, and so we wanted a younger perspective. So we put out a little Google form on our platforms. And we actually did get some responses, which shocked us both, but a little
Yes.
bribery of a Starbucks gift card goes a long way. We learned that lesson. And so what I think we're going to do, right, is we're just going to start. We're just going to share with our listeners each of the questions that we asked. And then each of us is going to pick one of the responses we saw to kind of lift up because it jumped at us for whatever reason. And the whole goal here is really just to think about what it means to be a woman right now for women the ages, let's call it 13, 14 to early 20s, what it means to be a woman and the messaging they get, etc. And we're super excited to share with you guys that perspective. So you want to kick us off, Jane?
Sure. So let me see here. So I'm excited about this because I love working with teens in the first place
Yeah,
because they are so just freaking woke. I love it,
yeah,
and so fresh and so shiny and they have very little baggage that they carry or head trash that they have. And so their ideas are just, I love it. I just
yeah,
love fresh, vibrant young adults. So the fact that we've got several of them to fill this out and not pencil whip it like some people did, we're just putting it out there. There was a
yeah.
couple people that just like kind of, pencil whipped it digitally and just put no to everything. You guys, come on. Like, really, give yourself some room. Give yourself some room to grow and to find out new things. When you're
And to
given an
think and
opportunity, take
reflect.
advantage of it all. So by you
Amen.
putting no, 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 that shows me you have a fixed mindset right now, and we need to break you away from that. So okay,
Amen.
that's my browbeating, but
Thank you.
it was a
Our
very nice one.
listeners couldn't wait to tune in today to have you browbeat. So thank you
Well,
for
I
that.
mean, every once in a while we gotta smack some people around a
That's
little
true.
bit.
That's true. Keep listening. Keep listening. Your turn could come anytime
Yeah,
now.
anytime. Just write
All
us.
right.
We'll do it. Okay. So, what the first question was, what type of support do you receive from the strong women in your life? And second of all, how does it help or not help you? And, the one thing that actually really just jumped out at me was almost everybody mentioned their mother,
Yeah.
which I thought that was super sweet. And in the aspect of, but also that they appreciate their mom. And you can tell that they have moms that are like on their side. They've got them, they're
Yeah.
supportive, they're all of those things. And that's what I really appreciated about seeing that because, Janice and I did not have supportive mothers.
Yep.
And I'm not, I used to be jealous of people that have good moms, like why couldn't my mom be like that or whatever. But actually, you know what? I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't have the mother that I did. So I appreciate her in different ways. But man, this is so promising and so made my
Yeah.
heart feel so good to see so many of these young ladies say my mom was in
Yeah.
there somewhere, which was really cool. So that's what I kind of took away from that. What about you,
Yep.
Janice?
No, I think you're right. That really jumped out at me too. And as moms who are working really hard to be this for our kids and our girls especially, it was really heartwarming to see that all of these young ladies have that. And I think the other thing I'm gonna lift up two things. A, there's a common thread here of clearly women who are bringing something positive to them are the people
Right.
who are, really the people they see as support systems. And also one of them mentioned coaches as well. And, as an
Yes.
educator and in that world and, having had my kids all, most of them play some kind of sport to be on some kinds of teams. It really is kind of amazing the impact coaches, men and women, right? Not even just women, but men and women in that role. It's amazing the impact they have for better or for worse, right? And so many people take on that role in a volunteer capacity and a paid capacity. And I just thought, what a powerful reminder that everything you do is a model for our kids when they're in your care. And it was great to see that, of course, there's obviously some very positive experience here based on these responses. But I've seen the opposite, right? I've seen coaches who tear kids down, not in the good way of like tear down to build up, but more of tear down just to make them feel like dirt. So it was just a really great, it made my kind of brain go, gosh, I just hope all the coaches out there realize, they've got our kids in their hands and they have a huge influence on them. So yeah, that was what I took away.
I love that. Yeah, and being involved with sports and organized sports and stuff like that is always great for children,
Yeah.
and to build that confidence and team aspect and stuff like that. Which is really cool. And then the fact that the parents, if they can get along and stuff like that too, that
Yeah.
also
That's
helps. So
huge. That's
love it.
huge.
Love
Yeah.
it. Okay.
So then we went on to ask them, okay, because we're trying to figure out what are the messages they feel like they're getting from the world around them about what it means to be a woman? So that was the nature of the second question. Like, what are some of the messages you're getting? And it was so interesting because I feel like we got a dual response. So part of what we got was that there's a message out there that women are strong, like you don't take crap from anybody, which I'm going to wager is tied to the answer to that first question. If they have a mom in their life who is that mom, then of course you're going to walk around being like, bring it world, I got this. But that wasn't, everybody didn't quite have that. I don't know if you
Right.
picked up on
Yeah, I picked up on that too. And I actually, this one was an interesting one because this, yeah, like what it means to be a woman and like about just being a woman. And it was a mixed bag.
that.
And it actually provoked a memory for me and how I felt what it was to be a woman, as I got older. And I'll go into that real quick. But the one that jumped out at me was the general message I feel I get from the world around me is that people think I'm sensitive and shy. And I think that that's more of a self perception versus a what the world is saying.
Yeah. Okay. What do you
You
mean?
know, well, like I don't. Oh, maybe that's what she meant by like women are
Right.
sensitive and shy. So maybe that's what she meant. But there's other ones that kind of say it's more her, and I mean I think it's more of the
Yeah.
way she's feeling. But for this is what jumped out at me. So it's this must be a core memory. I don't know, but I think it's probably the late 80s, early 90s, and Summer's Eve commercials would come on,
Oh God. Oh,
right? I would watch it, and I have this vivid memory of the one where the mom and the girl are sitting in the car and they're driving down this country road. The mom's driving, the daughter looks over and smiles and goes, "Mom, do you ever get that unfresh feeling?" And the mom goes, "Honey, every woman does." And then it's Summer's Eve. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? And like, and then the tampon commercials and the like all of these commercials. I thought when you turned into a woman, you just freaking fall apart. Like all the PMS and the pills and the you need all bloating and oh, do you have this problem? Oh, do you need this bra and this girdle and this thing? I was like, oh my God, I
yeah.
don't want to do any of that. Like
Yep.
this seems horrific. And then the one example of a mother that I had was ferocious. And I'm like, oh God,
Are these my choices? Are these my choices?
like I don't want to be this. I don't want to be this. And so I see they're sweet, and they're very insightful. And I'm looking at it like commercial value because that was our babysitter was the TV.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to do any of this. So that's what it brought up for me. And I was just kind of giggling in my head, but I totally get where, and even that Summer's Eve commercial, let's really be real. they didn't come out and say, hey, do you have, like, this is for, the time of the month when you want to freshen up or whatever,
Yeah,
pH balance, whatever. They didn't give you the medical terms. It was just, hey, women have unfresh feelings and they need to go
yeah,
buy this product. Otherwise, they're
yeah.
not going to feel so fresh. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Oh my gosh, right? And back then it was like, of course, no, but now I think about that and the messaging of that, right?
Right?
That women are unclean. Women are
And
like,
falling apart.
oh,
How many
yeah,
size tampons do you need? Like, what do you mean super plus plus? Like, what? I don't know what that means. And they don't explain it. It's embarrassing. And so our girls are walking around going, so should I use a tampon or should I not? I don't know.
right,
Like my 12-year-old asked me that. I'm like, no, you don't need a tampon right now.
right.
It's like there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, and you can barely remember to brush your teeth. No, you're
Oh
not,
my God,
like the answer is no. But like that's the kind of thing that goes through our heads
of course.
because
Well,
we know.
honestly, and I think that first off, I just that image that you painted, I think to myself, if my kid ever looked at me, we're driving, and said it like, I mean, again, please ask me any questions. I think my kids all know that, but just the idea of, "Do you ever
Right?
get that?" And yes, all oh my gosh. So it's interesting because you said that about the comment, the one response we got about people think that I'm sensitive and shy. I took it as people think I'm sensitive and shy, they have no idea. You know what I mean? Like, I actually took it a little bit different, and there's no way for
Oh,
us to
okay.
know, which is good. That's kind of the point of this. Like, we
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
all we can do is take it at face value. But I kind of took it as a people think that I'm sensitive and shy, which but ties into this kind of societal metric, if you will, the whole sugar and spice and everything nice piece, right? It kind of
Gotcha.
ties into that. And I do think there are a lot of young women who show that side on the surface, but that doesn't mean that's either who they are or all that they are, right? So that's
Right.
actually how I took that one, kinda interesting.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that makes sense though. That makes sense.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Alright, next one.
All right. So, next one. How, if at all, would you like to see that messaging change to be more supportive of you and the life that you want? So, which one jumped out at you, Janice?
So I first off, there's another thread that I saw through here, and that is this idea that, one somebody said it in the earlier question, but they said people say that women are lucky that we're lucky to be women. And yet we know how hard it is to be a
Right.
woman in this world, right? So it's so interesting that even though we feel like everybody understands the nature of what it means to be a woman in this modern world, clearly our young people, I mean, a lot of these responses are people from 15 to 17 years old, are still getting messaging from somewhere that, oh, you're so lucky to be a woman, as if like, oh, you're going to be taken care of, oh, you won't have to work hard, oh, you won't. And so in this case, with this particular question, I thought that it was interesting that a couple of them said that I would like the world to like stop with that messaging and know that it's not easy to be a girl
Right.
or a woman. And we kind of have to fight hard for everything we get. That was what rose to me.
Yeah,
How
and
about
I mean that's been the common thread like since the beginning of time of the we get treated different. Let's just call a spade a spade.
yes,
We are treated as if we are not um as smart,
yeah,
as strong, as intelligent,
yeah,
as creative as anything.
as valuable.
Men and valuable as men. We
Yeah,
are so disposable and it's just so wrong. It's
yes,
so wrong. And I instill that into my daughters all the time, every day.
yeah,
You are worthy. You deserve everything that you work hard for. You don't deserve things that you don't work hard for,
yeah,
and
right,
that's the plain fact. Like nobody deserves anything that they didn't really put time and effort into it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that goes for relationships, that goes for jobs, that goes
Amen.
for school, that goes for everything. If you're not willing to put in the effort to fight for what you really want and to make decisions well timed and everything else, then you don't deserve that. And that's just the
That's
way it
it.
is, whether you're male or female or whatever it is. And so there are millions of women out there that fight hard every day to be seen as equal to men, and um and they work so hard, I mean, we do it
Yeah.
every day, and I'm out there fighting for these girls too, and so are you, just to make sure that
Yeah.
they understand. And let's not even, I mean, that doesn't even include bringing race into it,
Yeah.
and that's the earth-shattering part of it, is that it should never ever get to those, let alone anything, and so
Yeah.
I work with all different shapes and sizes and colors and of people every day, and every
Sure.
single one of them is the same. We are
Yeah.
all human, and we are
Yeah.
all intelligent in our own ways, and it's through doing things like this that's going to change that messaging. More and more people are going to start listening to us, more and more people are going to start wanting to carry our flag and do
That's it.
this, and we're going to make it happen here. We're
That's
going
it.
to help make it happen here. Let's just say that, because we can't do it alone.
Start.
But this is the start, and this is how we're going to start changing that, ladies. So you wish that people would stop saying those things. We're here to say that they're not that way, and we're going to
That's
help
right.
express that. So thank you for sharing that, because that's exactly what we're here doing.
Yeah, we're gonna offer the counter image, right? The image that we know is true, so
Yeah.
that there can be kind of a platform for where people can go to A, be reminded of that themselves, and B, perhaps learn a little bit more about it. So the
Yeah.
fourth question that we asked was a kind of tangential, but it was a question we asked because we knew that the other thing that all folks in that age range, especially that kind of 13 and up age range, and even younger now, at this point, there's a whole different role that gender plays in their lives now. And so we wondered about, we were asking this question of young women. So clearly we were targeting people who identify themselves as women, but even using that expression is so different now than it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, et cetera. So we wanted to know from them, how does the current emphasis on gender roles, what does it mean to be a certain gender? What are the roles that go along with them, et cetera? How does that play a part in their day-to-day life? We were trying to kind of get a sense of like how much of that influences their day-to-day life. So what jumped out at you from their responses to that one, Jane?
Again, it's there was a mixed bag with them, and I think it's
Yeah,
because they have some woke
it was.
parents, which is amazing.
Yeah,
But the very
yeah,
but one of the ones that the one that did jump out at me, and it was a kind of a common thread with this number of answers. So I think that women are
yeah,
still portrayed as weaker and not as smart, which I would like to see changed, so that everyone, no matter their gender, is equal. And I agree with that.
yeah, yeah.
We do, where it starts for me, and I noticed this messaging, and it makes me so sad. It really makes me so sad, because we can't get away from it. Is I mean, we could just burn every TV around, right? But the
And device, because
and
you can see
device, and
everything on a
we can just
device.
get rid of all the technology, just get rid of all entertainment and all
You heard it here first,
but it
everybody. You
comes,
heard it here
yeah,
first.
you only want to listen to us for the rest of your life. Okay. Okay, fine.
Yes.
No, what I noticed is that Nickelodeon, Disney,
Okay.
all of those networks, the
Sure.
parents in those shows are morons. They don't know
Right.
how to schedule anything. They don't know what their kids are up to. The kids talk to them like they're morons. And they make it to where the parents are dumb. And all
Or
of the
they're
shows.
absent.
Or they're
There's so many
absent.
shows where
They're
you don't
never
even see the
around.
parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or remember Peanuts? Want, want,
Oh,
want,
yeah.
want, want. That's all you heard. The
That's
parents,
it.
any adult in that show was want, want. And so they start doing this in TV, in entertainment.
Yeah.
And, I have my youngest is 12. And so she used to watch, I would say when she was 8 or 9, all of those shows on Disney and everything else. And the
Oh, yeah.
parents are absent. They're complete morons. The moms are total ditzes. The
Yeah.
dads are like, oh, they're the mom's a stay-at-home mom. The dad,
It was
he
off
goes
to
to
work.
work and he's never around. And then the mom is just like doing whatever the kids say. And they start planting these seeds early on in entertainment, and they start seeing it. And then the moms get portrayed as these dumb bimbos that are just like, okay, I'm just a
Right.
soccer mom. And that's not the freaking case. That's
Yeah.
not reality. And that's where it just drives me nuts. And I wish that they would, and cartoons are the same way, and it's
Yeah.
like, I just wish that they would stop the nonsense of, why do parents have to be dumb to be entertaining?
Right.
Why can't they
Right.
be coaches and mentors and the ones rapping? Like, I think of Berenstain Bears. Okay, the parents in that, like books and stuff like that, they're a little bit more present and they
Sure.
were teaching a lesson. But as soon as it's an
Sure.
entertainment value, the parents go right down the tubes and they're complete morons. And I think that that's part of it, is
Yeah.
putting this like, oh, it's just my mom and she just runs us around. She just taxis us around. We really tell her what to do. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
seriously, like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? you know?
Right.
Because I've always been, I mean, even when I was in relationships, I was pretty much a single mom of my own doing,
Right.
because I'm just like, let's
Sure.
go, let's go.
Sure.
And the people I've been in relationships with have just, let me do that.
Gone along with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I watch these shows where the mom's a complete moron, and I'm like, you guys don't see me that way, do you? They're like, no, never. I'm like, okay, I'm glad that I communicate. But what if I didn't? What if I
Right.
didn't? They would just think I'm out shopping all day and I come back and I have money to
Right.
spend, and like, they would have no clue. So it starts at the home, and to go
Yeah.
back to the very beginning, like, the only one that said that they really still there was only one person that said that they still see like gender roles. Everybody else kind of doesn't see it as
Yeah.
much. And that's because
Yeah.
of the household. I truly believe it's
Right.
in the home. And because otherwise you leave it up to entertainment and the media, just, you might as well just like write them I don't know, like, just whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just
Well, it made me
saddening.
it's, that's all that is so important, and especially in terms of this idea of being role models, right? Which is what we know our kids need
Right.
from us most. Not, and when I say our kids, I mean, yes, us as parents, but also, yes, us as influencing other children in our lives, whether they're family, like nieces and nephews, whether they're children in our classrooms as teachers, whether they're, patients that we have as doctors, whatever the role, we have so many, and part of what they need, what we know they need, are role models, right? But
Yes.
your point made me think about, there were 2 things under that question that actually jumped out at me. One of them was, again, going back to, it depends on the role models you have, because one of them basically said, it doesn't really play, this whole idea of gender doesn't really play a role in my life, because with my mom's influence, I've always thought about independence more than anything. Like, it didn't
Right.
matter if I was a boy or a girl, or a he or she or a they or
Bingo.
whatever. It was
That's what it
more
should
about
be.
who I was as an individual, right?
Mhm.
And then someone else did say, though, that this idea of gender plays a role for them because they actually experience anxiety about how they act
Oh,
around
that's
others,
right,
like
that's right. I noticed that.
yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And so, my daughter and I have had this conversation several times, because I've asked, like, for anybody out there who watched the show This Is Us when it was on, one of the storylines that I really appreciated was one of the, teenage girls in the show who was, at some point kind of made the, shared with everybody that she was gay, and ended up, quote unquote, dating another person whose pronoun was they. And so
Mhm.
watching the writers of this show did a really beautiful job of really showing the mom's struggle with literally trying to do the right thing.
Right.
Tell me exactly what I should say. Tell me exactly. I don't, whether I understand or not is irrelevant. I just want to make sure I honor what this person brings to the table and who they want to, how they want to be referred to, etc. And that actually generated a lot of conversations between me and my youngest, because I said, that's the key, right? The key is that you don't have to understand the why behind somebody's uh, preference, but you do have to honor it no matter what. And so honor first, understand second, in my mind, right? As
Yeah.
we can. So I
I
thought that
have
was really important.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it's all about, and I'm just thinking of another episode we can do, based off of, responding versus reacting.
Yes.
Because that, in those
Yeah.
moments, um that is the key,
Yeah.
is how
Yeah.
are you emotionally reacting, or are you well thought out
Yeah.
responding?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between really mentoring your child, or a child, and disciplining, or just telling them what to do.
Yeah.
It's really about the response.
Yeah.
And that's where we really need to focus.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
where we build confidence, and that's where we do all of those things. And so yeah, let's put that on the schedule, responding versus reacting. I even have like a
I like
little
it.
like step by step, like what, an acronym for it and everything. So I think we should definitely talk about that in a future episode, because
Love it.
it's so important. It's so important how we respond to stimuluses.
Yeah, agreed. I agreed. I think that's a great one. And I think what I took away most, those were the 4 questions that we asked these young women, and what I took away most is that it is interesting how much of what we struggled with when we were that age, they're still struggling with, right? We're a much more
100%.
progressive, if you will, thinking society, and yet at the end of the day, those gender stereotypes are still very much alive and well. And every time somebody does something different, we are breaking the glass ceiling. We're tearing down that stereotype, which suggests that they all still exist and the problems are still there. Now, it doesn't mean that we throw in the towel, right? But it does mean that our girls who are growing up now don't have it any easier. And in fact, you could argue harder because it's constantly in their face because of their access to information via devices and the internet and all the things.
100%. I mean, I have to say that, technology as such a time vampire as it is, and
Yeah,
everything else has really helped us, the elder generation, understand it, that those things are still there.
yeah,
We didn't know,
yep,
and being a white woman, and you being a white woman, we are not exposed to racism on a regular basis. We are not, um I was aware, I was a little bit more woke because I have, my children are mixed race, and I have always associated and been around multiracial,
yeah.
people, and I love it. That's just how I am. And so I knew, but technology has made our country and our world really, really more aware of the severity of it and how
Sure.
much it's still around. And it is so sad. And I'm so embarrassed, for my race, because not
Yeah,
everybody's like that.
yeah,
And but we get grouped, and just like
yeah,
so like everybody else gets grouped, which should never happen, because we're all just humans and we're just one big group.
right.
But it's in your face and it's there, and that's why our kids are so much more aware,
Yeah,
and they're teaching us so much right now with just some of the words we use just from when we were kids that we don't really think about, that are not PC, and they are
yeah,
not nice to say, and you don't think about those things. So I really embrace the, like, again, at the beginning of our session, I started saying, I just love how woke our kids are,
yeah.
and inclusive and diverse, and um they're all they're just they're just so much fun right now.
Well, they're amazing, and you're pointing out a couple of things for me. First off, I gotta tell you, it's so interesting to listen to you use the expression "woke," and the reason I say that is because what's kind of sad is that it's just like all language, right? All language evolves and can mean different things at different times. That has been such an important expression in the last few years, in my opinion, and you just defined it just now, because you said woke, and then you said they're so diverse in their thinking, they're so inclusive, they're so, which is what we mean really when we say that
Yes.
word. But I've actually started backing off from using it because I feel like there are other groups of people who are now using that word as a weapon, right? Like they're using it as a,
Right.
oh, that group of woke people over there, and almost like a very demeaning way, which doesn't mean the word is wrong, right? But it's so like I said, it's been good for me to listen to you use it to remind myself that just because another group uses it
Doesn't
in
like
that
it.
way as an
Yeah.
attack, right? Because they're using it really as an attack, and they're using it for everything now, right? Oh, she ate Cheerios for breakfast, she's so woke, to make it less meaningful, right?
Right.
To
Well,
to
that's the
to
whole point.
devalue it. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the whole
Exactly.
plan, is to
Yeah,
devalue it so people
yeah,
stop using it, so people
right,
stop talking about it,
right,
so everything just goes away, right? Well,
right,
no, it's
right,
still fucking there, people.
right.
And it happens every day. And I have biracial children. I mean, I had my kids in a Christian school, and where God is good and everybody loves everybody and all this other happy stuff, and she was told by a white boy that she should be out in the field picking cotton.
Yeah.
I swear, like, what? in a
Right.
Christian school where you would think that you would never hear something like that.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is it was more prevalent in that school than anywhere else. I ripped them out of those schools.
Yeah.
No, we're not
All
doing
of the
this.
Well, right, because it's this idea that there's no such thing as a safe space. So I'm gonna pull us back over
Yeah.
a little bit, because again, that's a whole
Whole
different
nother can of
conversation, right?
worms.
Like it's just,
Sorry, everybody. I'm
but
ruffling some feathers, but
no,
it's
no, no,
real.
no. I mean, and that's what we want in this conversation is to be able to do that. And you and I have had, and we're totally transparent with our audience, so I can say it. We have had off camera, so to speak, conversations about this and about like how far we go, what value we feel like we can bring to the conversation. And so I don't want to shortchange it, right? By
Yeah.
starting
Yeah.
going down something that we can't
And
really fill out.
we have
And,
some
and actually, one of our reservations in the past has been the last thing people need is two white women talking about
right.
racism without another voice, regardless of our experiences and the relationships we have
Exactly.
in our lives and all the things. So, and don't get me wrong, we know that being white allies is a critical part of um, making any change that could be systemic and
100%.
transformational. But we also know we have to be really we have to honor, right, the people in our lives that are important to us and make sure that we don't misstep it. So
Well,
so
and
go ahead.
also, yeah,
Yeah,
we have I have people in my world, and
yeah,
so do you, that we
yeah,
could bring on to be
yeah,
experts in that and talk
exactly,
to us about it
exactly.
and make us more woke even, like
Right,
because there's never you can
right.
never be and never know enough about those things and how to help and how to be a voice in that
Yeah.
space. So we are
Well, I
definitely
think the
going to
key
bring
is yeah, I think the key is conversation, like not avoiding the conversation, right? That's the
absolutely
in my
not.
mind, that's the key. So I'm gonna bring it back to this idea of women again and our final episode for Women's Month, and this idea of kind of what they're perceiving now, especially women in a bit of a younger group, and what they need. And so we already mentioned role models, right? We mentioned this idea that they
Yes.
need each one of us and I'm certainly putting an emphasis on women in this role, but also the men, right? Men are powerful role models for what it means to be a woman in this world. That comes through in how you treat the women in your world, from your mother to
Yes.
your wife to your children to your sister to the woman standing in the waiting room to the person in line behind you. Men are significant role models with respect to what it means to be a woman in this world. And so role models is definitely something they need. Something else I feel like they need is mentors, right? People in their lives who are guiding them, emotionally encouraging them, motivating them, giving them a listening ear. And that's something that you and I work really hard to do for the young and older women in our
Yes.
lives around us. And a quick example I'm going to offer, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, Jane, to add what
Yeah.
you're thinking and help wrap us up. Is I was just at a conference at the end of this last week, and I had the privilege of spending Thursday evening with a group of women, all of whom happened to be Latina, except for me. And this is just a powerhouse group of Latina women. And I'm saying Latina because that is the word that they used versus Latinx. So that's why I'm using that term. And it was so important for me to be there because there was such a a circle of solidarity, right? A circle of sisterhood. They literally, you and I talk about one of our important things that we want to do with this podcast for other women is constantly being each other's person who straightens your crown, right? And
Right.
they actually used that expression Thursday night. This idea that that's how we're there to shore each other up, and it was just such a wonderful moment, and it made me realize that I've got to keep saying to my girls and to the young women that I know, you have to forge that bond of sisterhood with some women in your life, and they might change over time, right? The close
Yes.
friends in our world will change as we journey through life, but constantly have that inner circle of women who are going to be on the other end of a phone when you pick it up and say somebody needs to straighten my crown right now because I'm experiencing dot dot dot. So those are the two big takeaways for me from that conversation. What are you thinking, Jane? Wrap us up.
Yeah, so I have two things.
Yeah.
Um, and they're combined, but it's kind of to piggyback off of what you just said because we actually were kind of chatting about this before we hit record and
Yep.
so that's why it's coming back up, I think. But is having powerful women around you. But here's the thing, and and this was kind of what I was explaining to Janice, is that I'm finally in my life, I feel like I have the right women starting to come into my life.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I had women in my life that I thought were my friends and thought, all of those things, but it was really them using me and I was being naive, or I was naive. I wasn't being naive. I was naive at the time.
Yeah.
And bad things happened, and there's a story to it, but I could have lost my life,
Yeah.
and thought I was going to, in one situation. And it wasn't until then did I realize that they weren't truly my friends,
Right.
and so now I feel so different now that I'm putting the right women in my world,
That's it.
and finding it and finding them. But here's the thing that how I can determine the difference. And this is so important. And this is the second part is the people that you want to keep around are going to walk the talk. People will tell you all day long of the things that they can do or want to do and everything else. It's the people that are actually doing it that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are being intentional. They are following up on you. They are checking in. They are saying and doing. They're saying it, but they're doing what they said they're going to do. I have plenty of friends that are like, if you need anything, blah blah blah, just ask. I'll check on you. Blah. You never hear from them ever.
Yeah.
And I'm just as bad. I'm not saying that I'm
They're
not
not
perfect,
perfect.
and I am not the one that's checking up on all my friends. I don't. I'm terrible
Yeah.
at it. But here's what I'm saying is that when you're with them and you see them and you pay attention, are they being intentional? Do they have your and theirs best interest at heart? When you have conversations, are they looking you in the eye and actually really sharing that space with you? Or are they looking at their phone and everywhere else? You have to pay attention to these things because the
Yeah.
people that are not engaged with you, they're just talking the talk. The people that are there, that follow up, that spend that time with you, give you that confidence, straighten that crown, and are not there for them. They're there for we, not for me. That's my new phrase around
Yeah.
work. Who's here for we and not for me? Like, let's go. This is a team.
Right.
And when you surround yourself with the people that are strong like that and that will straighten your crown and then lean on you when they need it too, because the people
Yes.
that never need the help are not really there, because
Right.
the people that actually give and receive are the people that are really there, and the
That's
people
it.
that are really going to be there for you in that time of need too, because they've needed it as well. So pay attention to those things, ladies, because those are the true friends. Those are the
I
people that you want to really connect with and stick with for a very long time.
So I'm gonna what you just said is so important. So thank you for sharing it in that way. And it reminded me that I was on whatever Instagram yesterday, I think it was, and there's this really powerful message that this woman posted, and it really gets at what you just said. And she said something to the effect of, "For those of you who responded to my suffering with distance and called it love, you can just stay over there. I don't need you anymore."
Exactly.
And I was like,
Woo.
"Whoa."
Yeah,
Whoa, right? And
it's
it made me
100%.
reflect. It's like you said, we're not perfect, and there have been times that I'm like, "You know what? I'll give her a call in a couple weeks. I'm gonna give her some space." And that really hit home for me because I thought, "Ooh, like, is that to meet my need or hers, right? Or
Right.
his or whomever the person is." So,
Well,
yeah,
it's
thank you for sharing it that way.
yeah, and it's at the surface for me right now because I'm going through some stuff right now, and
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yep.
we'll talk about it down the road. And three people have been checking on me, and not a lot of people know what's going on,
Yeah.
but you,
Yeah.
my BFF at
Mhm.
work, Tammy, and my BFF number two, Janae, at work. All three of you guys have been checking on me and just like, hey,
Yeah.
how's it going? Do you need anything? And
Yeah.
I could never, like, I've never felt so much love from other people, and it's just nice. It's nice. So thank you.
Yeah.
Because I've never had
Yeah.
that before. And I was actually talking to my boss about that. She has a really good friend that comes down and works with us and stuff like that. I said, I am so happy you guys are friends, and I'm so happy that you have her, because she really lifts you up and straightens your crown and has your best interest at heart. And I'm so happy for you that you guys have been friends for 35 years. And she
Yeah.
was like, thanks. You know, I'm
Isn't
like,
that great?
I just, yeah, I
Love
just,
that.
it makes my heart so happy to see relationships
Yeah,
like that. And that's how we all should fucking be, damn it. You know,
I
like,
know. I know.
gosh,
Well,
why?
yes, and we'll let this be the final thought if that works for you.
Yeah,
And I think that the message we're trying to put that forth to these young women is get that group, right?
get it.
But also, um, keep it tight and know to your point that you're giving as well as receiving, right?
Yes,
Giving as well as receiving. And I
you have
think
to.
that is the critical piece and just making sure, in that moment of crisis that you look around and if you don't see anybody, then there's some work to do
Yeah,
because maybe you thought you had what you didn't have. So, and we're here, right? We're here for you. So you can always DM us, send us a message on any of our platforms, do all the things to reach out to us because that's what we're here to do.
it is.
That's it, man. Right?
Yeah.
All right, ladies. Women's Month is over, so we don't care about you anymore after this episode. We don't want to hear
Bye.
it. Deal with it until next March. Okay, that's when we want to hear it. I'm kidding. Of course, I'm kidding. But
Every day is
again,
Women's Day here. Every day
every
is
day
Women's
is
Day.
Women's Day, and we are, we're looking forward to our next opportunity to grace you with our presence. Actually, I feel like in our next episode.
We'll just say you're
And thank
welcome right now.
Exactly. Yeah, you're welcome. Exactly. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Share, like, do all the things. And we'll listen to you or hear we won't listen to you. You'll listen to us. We'll see you. Although we really won't next time.
And check out our Spotify playlist that we'll have in
Oh, that's
our
right.
notes of this episode. All right,
There you
guys.
go.
Have a good one. Till then, bye.
Peace.